Hello everyone, I'm Tom, a member of the central team in the Network for East Anglian Collaborative Outreach, which you may know better as neaco. I'm really pleased to welcome you to today's Parent and Carer Higher Education Open Day, and that you've joined us to learn more about how we can help your child navigate their higher education options. I'm here to share with you a bit more about our programme and what we have planned for today. So firstly, who are neaco? neaco is a partnership of the 5 universities and 9 further education colleges in East Anglia. We're one of 29 government-funded UniConnect partnerships across England, working to improve young people's access to and decision-making on higher education. We are particularly focused on supporting areas where progression to higher education is lower than expected, so that we can figure out both why it is low and what resources or activities may make a real difference to young people in these areas. Since we began in 2017, we have mainly done this by engaging directly with our region's secondary schools, sixth forms and colleges to support students aged 14 to 19 when they are making important choices and decisions. We call our work the Take Your Place programme. The brilliant thing about neaco, and something we're very proud of, is that we are a collaborative and impartial service. We work together across the region to help learners consider all their options, not just one route, subject or provider, and to make an informed choice about the route that is right for them. Our brilliant team working in our schools and colleges to make all this possible, and who organise today, we call Higher Education Champions. Our champions deliver our Take Your Place programme in lots of different ways, some of which your child may have engaged in already. We deliver sessions on the facts about higher education pathways, such as understanding the different types of qualifications and how they can be funded, events and visits to inspire your children on the range of destinations higher education can help them to reach, and direct support, such as mentoring with students, training for school and college staff, and events for parent and carers, just like today's. All our activities are based around our progression framework, an evidence-based, structured approach with which to develop the knowledge and capacities young people need to make well-informed decisions about their futures and reaching the destinations right for them. Traditionally, we've delivered our framework and these kind of events in person. However, the past year has caused us to adapt our approach, but also let us develop lots of new ways to reach those that need us. Of course, we fully recognise that it's not just about the young person making the decision. It's also about the people around them who help support, explore and shape those decisions. And that's why we're here today. Over the next couple of hours, we're excited to share with you facts and advice on how to navigate the range of higher education pathways and get the information you need, tasters of university subjects at different institutions, and introductions to higher and degree apprenticeships and higher education studies in further education colleges, insights and experiences from students, support services and parents on applying to and getting the best from higher education opportunities, and virtual tours of some of our partner universities from a student ambassador's perspective. By the end of our event, we hope you'll feel equipped with the facts and recognise the myths about higher education options. Our aim is to help you feel more confident in navigating your child's options and questions together and in accessing the information you need to, but also to be inspired and excited by the next stage of your next child's journey, whichever higher education route they choose. Along the way, we know you'll have questions and details you'd like to explore. That's brilliant, and that's what we're here for. Please use the chat panel within the platform to ask your questions during the sessions, and we'll either answer straight away or at the end of the session. We also have a live question and answer session at the end of the day when you can put your questions directly to our panel. And don't worry, there'll be tea breaks along the way and the content will be recorded and shared afterwards. So that just leaves me to say thank you for your time, and I hope you find today engaging, informative and inspiring. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Tom. My name's Naomi and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about open days and how you and your young person can get the most of them and what to expect. So before I continue about open days, I just wanted to cover who is here with us today and who will be covering our chat. So there is myself, Naomi Miller. I'm a parent and carer champion at the University of Suffolk. There is Melanie Kidd, who is a parent and carer champion at the University of East Anglia. And there's Kate McCormick, the higher education champion at Anglo-Ruskin University. Our parent care ambassador is Michelle Jones, and she works with me at the University of Suffolk. We have one of our lovely parent ambassadors, Nikki, who works with me at the University of Suffolk. And working with Kate is Chloe May Zansby, who is our student ambassador from Anglo-Ruskin University. So when you're thinking about going to an open day and you're talking to your young person about university, the first question you're going to want to ask them is, what do you think the benefits of university are? So for us, when we're talking about the benefits, we are thinking about the subject that they're going to learn. So this is their opportunity to take those subjects that they've been honing in on through their college or through their sixth form and pick that one subject that they really, really love. It might be a subject they haven't been able to study before. They're also going to gain transferable skills that they can use in any employment after they've completed their degree. These could be skills like time management, working as a team and working towards deadlines. They'll also have access to graduate jobs. Now, graduates earn on average £150,000 more in their lifetime than those who do not have a degree. It also improves their job prospects as a job world is getting more and more competitive, and this is their way to stand out. Importantly, it gives them more independence. So for a lot of students, this is their first time of moving away from home, and it gives them a chance to start looking after their bills, looking after themselves and taking care of themselves independently. And greatly, they are going to more than likely make friends for life, whether this is through their course or through the societies that they join, or possibly even the accommodation that they move into when they first arrive. So the next question you're going to want to ask them is, what subject sparks motivation in you? It's really important that when you're thinking about the course that you consider what modules are making that course up. So there are hundreds of universities in the UK that may offer the exactly same course, say in business management. However, the modules for that course can be very, very different depending on the university. So it's important that they read these and make sure they are right for them. There also may be a practical work element, and they need to make sure that they're getting the right amount of practical work that they would desire. They also need to consider what kind of contact time they're getting, not only from their lecturers, but the contact time they're going to be getting on campus and access to the facilities that they want to use. They also need to consider what placements they might be doing in that course. Certainly for any healthcare course or social work course, they will have to be taking a placement. So how far is that placement going to be from the university? And is it going to be manageable for them to do? How long is that placement going to be? You're going to want to ask them what comes to mind when they think of locations. So what kind of location are they thinking about? This can include for you, how far is that new location going to be from their current home? Is it going to be able for them to come home and visit when they want to? And is it going to be easy for you to go and see them? If they're considering staying living from home, what are the transport costs going to be? But also, if they are having a placement, what are the transport costs going to be for them to go to that placement? What kind of area are they going to want to be living in? Are they wanting a city campus where normally the campus is quite stretched out across the city, such as in London? Or do they want a campus where everything is all in one place and all the facilities are easy to get to? They also need to consider the surrounding area. Are they looking for something more rural and quiet, or do they want something a bit more hectic, which we would get from a city campus? You're going to ask them what kind of vibe is important to them. So when we're talking about a vibe, we're talking about the atmosphere of that university. Is it small and friendly, or is it big and buzzy? Do they have any additional support needs that they're going to need looked after? Do they need to go and find student services and make sure they will be catered for? What kind of clubs and societies and social life activities are they looking for? Do they currently play football and they want to continue doing that? And are there any extracurricular facilities that they particularly need, such as playing fields or cinemas? So open days are essential for finding out all of this information. They're really a key point for you to start planning your young person strategy when they're going into higher education. This is their chance to compare those UCAS choices and get them taken down to those last two. They're going to be able to question the lecturers on all that course content information that might not necessarily be available online. They're going to get to talk to current students, so every open day will have student ambassadors there, and they can go and talk to them, and they're very open and actually there too to talk to them about the university and the courses. More importantly, this is going to be their time to actually really test the vibe or the atmosphere of that university as they get to walk around the campus and the greater city area that the university is based. Another nice thing about going to physical open days is that you get to meet other potential students. So as they're walking around and going to subject talks, they may see other students who are potentially going to be on the course with them when they start. So virtual open days have very much become a relevant thing, especially this year with COVID. So I don't think these are going anywhere. They're greatly important and they really have their value. I think universities have really seen the benefits of having virtual open days. Some of the benefits that we've noticed is that students can easily attend more open days and there isn't that financial implication. When you're going to say 5 different open days, they can become quite costly and there's quite a lot of travel costs involved. With online open days, you don't have any of this. You can sit in the comfort of your own home. You still get to ask those valuable questions from your lecturers, and there's always still student ambassadors available on the day for you to talk to. They tend to be more flexible with talks. As you can imagine, a physical open day can be quite hectic. So the nice thing about a virtual open day is that you get tailored talks and you know when they are and you can access them when you need to. And they're also great for those who prefer online engagement, who can often find sometimes face-to-face engagement intimidating, and it makes it easier for them to ask those all-important questions. Now, I've put the website here, www.opendays.com. They have all the UK open days on there, so you can be able to go on there and check the university open days that you're interested in, and it will tell you all the upcoming ones that they currently have and whether they're virtual or going to be physical. That's everything from me, and we'll carry on with the rest of our event.
My name's Amy and I'm currently a third year student studying sociology. I just loved sociology so much. I actually came on a college trip when I was studying my A-levels, and at the time I was a bit confused. I wasn't sure what university I wanted to go to, let alone what subject I wanted to do or anything, and coming on this college trip I immediately knew sociology at ARU. It's definitely what I want to do. I have absolutely loved studying in Cambridge. It is such a beautiful city. I love the green spaces, all the parks and everything, and just a really lovely community that it is. And the community of ARU, staff, students, everyone, they've been amazing. Staff are only ever an email away. Into like careers fairs and things has definitely allowed me to make a few connections. I've gained so much work experience. I went to a teaching event, about becoming a teacher. Is that something I was thinking of? And I made, a few email contacts and things. So that's been really great, yeah.
UEA has a fantastic range of facilities, all based on campus, which makes it feel like a little city in itself. There's an extensive library where you can find pretty much any book that you could need, and you can also go to study either in a social space or in a quiet space. There's a student-run cafe and shop where you can work if you choose to. There's also a student bar and a student club. There's a UEA gym which is open to the public but gives really good student rates so you can go and keep fit. This is also where most of the university sports teams will train, and matches are also held here.
One thing really special about UEA is that we have something called the Stationery Centre for Visual Arts right on our campus. It may be better known as the Avengers HQ, but it's this really great art centre that is on our campus, free students, and it is really nice to have there.
At UEA, medical students, nurses, physios and other healthcare professionals also have access to the simulation suites of the hospital. The simulation suites have life-size dummies, which are incredibly technologically advanced and can have a variety of healthcare conditions that we then have to go and treat, and give us invaluable opportunities to try things out to make sure that we're ready for the first day that we're on the wards.
So I would say that open days are extremely useful, especially if you don't know for certain where you want to apply to, because they kind of give you an overview of what you can expect, both from the course itself and from the lecturers. I think it can also build a rapport between you and the university, because you get to see it physically and not just in photos, which I think is a great addition. I would say it also has its benefits, considering you get to walk around the campus and see the buildings in themselves, and also see where you're going to study. So for example, in the library, or if the university has a social space. And also if you decide on staying in accommodation, in on-campus accommodation, that is also great, because a lot of universities offer accommodation tours, and you can see where you are going to live, how are you going to make friends, and I think it's an exciting opportunity, to be honest.
Hi, my name's Nikki Weavers. I live in the Suffolk area and I'm a parent ambassador for the University of Suffolk. I have 2 children, one who is at sixth form and one who is now 25, but went to the University of Durham and did a 4 years master's degree in maths.
Hi there, I'm Dave Alley and I'm a parent ambassador at the University of Suffolk. 2 of my children have finished university and one started in 2020. One did an English degree at Bedford University, one did a maths degree at Reading, and one has just started a computer science degree at Portsmouth.
My name's Michelle and I'm a parent carer ambassador at the University of Suffolk. I have 3 children, or young adults now, and they have all gone on to university education.
My name's Pete and I'm a parent ambassador at the University of Suffolk in Ipswich. I've supported 2 children through the university application process. My daughter Ali in 2016 and my son George just recently in 2020.
So after attending the open days and visiting all 4, Sam managed to narrow it down to 2, and he had his first choice and his second choice. Everything was considered. How did he feel? Was he there when he was there? Did he feel comfortable? Was it the course that he wanted? Did he like the surrounding area? There was all things to consider when he went to the open days, but I believe by going to all 4 it gave him a real good understanding of what was out there and what felt right for him.
We found the best thing about the university visits is really getting a feel for the place. Your young person will be living at university for 3 years or more, so you've really got to be comfortable with your choice. So it's not just a course, it's finding about the accommodation, the university setting, and also what the town's like too.
The best thing about University Open Day is being able to look around the university, have a look at the facilities, see what the city it's in is like, and just get a flavour really of the department and the university as a whole. And once you've been to a couple, it's useful because you can compare them. You've got something that you can compare the other universities that you're visiting with.
I think the best thing about attending an open day is being able to speak to students themselves about their own personal experience of attending that university, and you can also ask them some of those questions that don't seem to get answered in a lot of the talks or even on the website and things like that. So for instance, how much it might cost to live out in the 2nd and 3rd year, what accommodation is like, how good is public transport if students don't have to live off campus, for example, and how much that transport's going to cost. I think speaking to actual students who are having the lived experience is really valuable.
When we visited the universities, our top priority was to get a feel of the place, not just the course content, but what it's like to live there. Your young person will spend a significant amount of time at university, so it's really got to feel right for them. So when you go, make sure you really get a feel for the place.
So I think our top priority when attending the open day was to double check some of the information that had been read, so things like module content, and if there was sort of optional modules and things like that, that was really important. And also if there was a practical element to the course. So in my daughter's case with social work, around placements, about how easy it was to get placements, how far away they were, whether you needed a car and things. Sometimes some of those questions aren't answered in the way you'd expect within all the written literature. So I think for us, that was sort of like a top priority, really, as well as obviously going and looking at things like accommodation, so you knew how much you were getting for your money, really, I think. So actually physically looking at accommodation and then working out where would be the preferred place for you to live if you had an option was really important.
My top priority when going on University Open Day was really just to discuss the day with Ali and George, and to make sure that they'd made full use of their time and that they'd asked all the questions they wanted to, visited all the places and had all the experiences that they wanted to, such as looking around the accommodation, but in particular just finding out really about the courses that they were interested in.
Hi everyone, my name is Verity and I'm a lecture practitioner here at Anglia Ruskin University working on the sports coaching and physical education degree. I'm going to give you a quick introduction into the sports degrees that we offer here within the sports sciences team at Anglia Ruskin University. So we offer sport and exercise science, sport coaching and physical education, sport and exercise therapy and strength and conditioning with rehabilitation. One of the things I wanted to touch on first was letting you know that we were recently notified that out of a number of higher education institutes which deliver sports science or similar courses, we were ranked by The Guardian in their league tables as number 1, which we were very proud of and have worked very hard to achieve. And I wanted to quickly explain to you why we have been awarded this amazing accolade. And just to note that where it says that subject area is sports science, this covers all of our degrees. It's just a generic term given for all of them. So one of the things that we were highly praised for was our graduate outcomes. And this is a percentage of students that are in a graduate job within 15 months of leaving us at Anglia Ruskin University. So within this, it says we had 88% of our students in a graduate job. And that is something that we've worked really hard on with our students, and I'll go into a little bit more detail later, but it's something that we're very proud of. The second one is our values added, and this is the improvements that the students make within their grades from joining us to finishing with us in our third year. And again, this is something that our lecturers work very hard on to ensure that within assessments and with feedback, the students are improving. And the last one was the National Student Survey. This is a survey that all third years are asked to take in their final year, and it asks them questions surrounding their satisfaction towards their degree. So it might be organisation, management, feedback, assessments. And we were particularly praised for our teaching, which is an amazing achievement and something we're very proud of here, and does show you the hard work that all of our lecturers and tutors put into delivering this degree. So I just wanted to touch on a little bit about our teaching and assessment so you can get a good understanding of how we run things here at Anglia Ruskin University within our sports team. So even though we run very practical degrees, our teaching does still involve some lectures and seminars. So we do have some classroom work which involves theory to support and back up all of our practical skills, but we also have therapy clinics, practicals, fieldwork and computer-aided learning sessions. We do this so that we are teaching very innovatively. We do use different diverse learning approaches to ensure that we're developing individuals and we provide technology to help them do this. How will you be assessed if you come here at Anglia Ruskin? So you'll be pleased to know that we do steer clear of the classic university exams. We use different ways and a variety of ways to assess students. So we might have practical examinations, we might have group presentations, there might be lab reports, you might write a club development plan, you might write an essay. So as you can see, there's all different ways in which we are trying to develop the individual by giving them opportunity to complete different styles of examinations, which they will be able to take forward as they leave us after 3 years. And as I mentioned earlier, one thing that we're hugely proud of is the way in which we intertwine employability skills into our degrees and the modules that our students study. So it really is a central theme for us, and is one of the reasons we believe that we scored so highly and are #1 within the Guardian rankings. Our course content provides employability skills, be it bringing in guest lecturers who are industry experts, be it employing lecture practitioners such as myself who have worked directly in the sector for a number of years and can bring up applied knowledge to that. We also ask the students to engage in professional development modules whereby they gain credits by taking part in co-curricular and extracurricular activities that support their studies, be that work placements within relevant jobs, taking part in workshops or conferences. And we do also offer ourselves a number of extracurricular opportunities, such as consultancy work within our research team, CV development, and also excellence in sport lectures. And just this year, we've already had John Barnes and Lizzie Yarnold talk to our students about their experiences in sport. So we really do offer a wide range of skills that hopefully upskill our students and help with their employability and graduate outcomes once they leave us. This also ties into the opportunities and internships that we do offer here at Anglia Ruskin. So as you can see from the logo surrounding this slide, we do work with a number of key partners within Cambridge and the surrounding area. And these offer students a number of things such as gaining recognised coaching qualifications, learning how to do individual research, working with elite athletes and coaches. So our students do get a holistic approach to their teaching. And as we've said, we really do try and tie in that applied knowledge and give our students the opportunity to develop themselves on a holistic basis, again, to increase those graduate outcomes when they leave us. And this is just something that I wanted to include to let you know what our graduates have said. And this was from the NSS survey. So as you can see, we've got a lot of 100% there and some really important topics such as organisation and management, their learning opportunities, their teaching on their course, and we only go as low as 94% on here, which is amazing and something which shows how dedicated we are to creating our students as future professionals in this sector, and also giving them that knowledge for when they enter the real world sector in a number of transferable skills. So these are just a couple of quotes from our students, and there's some really lovely things to pick out from these quotes. Some of the things such as the staff were very friendly and willing to help, that the modules are current and reflect real world skills, everyone's like one big family, which is a really big aspect that we try to instill within our faculty here at Anglia Ruskin University. We understand that a lot of people are coming away from home for the first time. It was a big thing when I left home and went to university the first time, and we want it to be a friendly, warm, inviting place where people feel that they can improve on their studies and grow as individuals. And as staff, we are very aware of that, and as you can see from the feedback we've been given, it looks like hopefully we're doing a good job at that. And finally, talking about all the different qualifications that they can gain through different modules, which again is hitting on those employability and graduate outcomes. So hopefully that's given you a really good introduction into our sports degrees here at Anglia Ruskin University. I have listed here some of our course leaders, so if you do have any further questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with them, drop them an email, and they'll be very willing to answer any of your queries or questions surrounding our degrees. You could also follow us on social media for all of our upcoming events or any current news from us. So thank you very much, thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see some of you soon.
Hi, my name's Tom. I'm a fine art graduate and I'm now part of the recruitment team here at Norwich University of the Arts. This is our presentation titled Why Creative, which looks at the value of the creative industries and the variety of the types of jobs you can go onto with your creativity. This guy might seem a little bit crude, but he's there to make the point that creatives affect every single part of your life. From what you wear, to the stories that you're interested in, the games you like to play, the social media you engage with, to even the building that you're sat in. Every single part of your life is affected by creatives. Basically, without creatives, you'd be standing naked, alone, possibly in a field. In 2019, the UK's creative industries were worth £111.7 billion to the UK. And that's growing at over twice the rate of the wider economy. That makes £11.5 million an hour. Over 3 million people work in the UK's creative sector. That's 1 in 11 jobs. So how do you get in the creative industries? Well, there's a number of ways that you might want to access it, and one of them is by going to university. University courses typically take 3 or 4 years of study, and they're what you do after studying maybe at sixth form or going to college and studying a level 3 course. We offer 19 different creative subjects at Norwich University of the Arts. These include acting, animation and visual effects, film and moving image production, fine art, games art and design, photography and games development. That's part of our art and media faculty or department. Our architecture and design faculty or department includes architecture, design for publishing, fashion communication and promotion, fashion marketing and business, that's a lot of fashion courses, graphic communication, graphic design, illustration, interior design, textile design, and user experience design. Once again, these are 3 or 4 year courses of study, and you can find out far more information about the course structure, what they get up to, and more importantly, the type of work that they make at www.nua.ac.uk. So maybe you're thinking, that's great, but what are the jobs that you can do after studying a creative degree? Well, actually, there's so many different jobs you could go into with your creativity. On the screen now, I have a list of those typical careers that our students might go into following graduation from our subjects in our art and media faculty. So on the screen there, you can see acting, animation and visual effects, film and moving image production, fine art, games art and design, games development, and photography, typical careers. And this is our list of careers from our architecture and design faculty. So this includes those courses such as architecture, fashion communication and promotion, fashion marketing and business, our graphics courses, illustration, interior design, textile design, and user experience design. Something that I think is really interesting about all of these typical jobs and career paths is that they involve other skills, not just creative skills. So things like your interest in English, mathematics, you're interested in psychology, you're interested in languages or even geography actually tie in with a lot of our subject areas. At a university like ours, it's not just about developing your creative making skills, we're also looking at developing your professionalism. So we'll give you a series of different opportunities to be able to develop those types of skills that employers are looking for, such as your resilience, your ability to meet deadlines and to deliver a brief, your ability to be flexible and adaptable, your ability to show an attention to detail, to communicate well with colleagues and partners, to respond well to feedback, to be able to work in a team, to be able to handle customers and clients professionally, to demonstrate a positive attitude in all situations, and to be able to interpret a brief in a unique and distinctive way. This slide is a small snapshot of the different types of industries that our graduates have gone on to work for, and also those that collaborate with us at the university year after year. Is that something that's of interest to you? And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. To find out more, please have a look at our website. That's www.nua.ac.uk. You can follow us on #WeAreNUA to see what's going on in our student community. And also you can contact us at student.recruitment@nua.ac.uk. Thank you once again, and your creativity matters.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina Garner. I'm a lecturer in law at UEA. I'm going to share with you today what I think is so great about studying law. And I think law is a great subject at any point in your life. So whilst today is all about the person you're supporting as a parent or carer, do bear it in mind for yourself if you choose to return to study at any point in the future. As I make each of my points, I'm also going to highlight some questions that you might want to ask at open days or ways in which the person you're supporting could prepare for studying law in the future. So the first thing I want to highlight to you is that law is absolutely everywhere. It governs so much of our everyday lives, particularly at the moment. If we think we're dealing with Brexit, we're dealing with the emergency powers of the government, dealing with enhanced powers that the police have to deal with COVID regulations. Even outside of these extraordinary times, law touches on every part of our daily lives. Even something as simple as going to the shop will encounter contract law if you buy something. The workers will rely on employment law. Even where the shop is sited will involve land law, commercial law, and competition law. So bearing that in mind, one of the best things that you can do to prepare for studying law in the future is to take an interest in current affairs. Watch the news, read articles, and have an opinion. It's so important for law students to have an opinion. Another really exciting part about law is just how diverse it is. It's such an interesting and broad subject area. Whilst most universities will have the same core modules, things like criminal and contract, their optional modules are where they will really set apart from each other. So have a look at the websites to see what's on offer and think about what might interest you or the person you're supporting. We offer things like animal welfare law, forced migration and refugee law, commercial law, further topics in contract law, a whole different range of options. There's also the option to do different types of law degree. So we offer a 3-year law degree, which is all taught in the UK, but we also offer a 4-year law degree where you'll spend the 3rd year at one of our partner institutions, either in America or in Europe, being taught in English or being taught in a language if you have one. There's also the option to combine law. So we do things like law with criminology. So my top tips here are to research different courses, including those with the study abroad option, and to ask about those optional modules. The vibrant student community is a really exciting part of being a law student. So our Student Law Society not only organise things that you would expect, like nights out and trips abroad and balls, but they also organise our legal competitions. These include things like mooting, mock court trials, negotiation, client interviewing, mediation, which gives students a really good opportunity to practice some practical legal skills, but also to work with their peers, to get to know other law students and really embed themselves in that student community and the wider legal community, because lots of our competitions are judged or hosted by local firms or judges or barristers. So here's some pictures of students getting involved with those sorts of things, and my top tips are: ask what activities does the Student Law Society run and what competitions are there to get involved with. So alongside the skills that you're going to gain as part of the competitions, it's also really important to ask what pro bono opportunities there are. And pro bono means voluntary legal work. So we offer loads of things like Norfolk Community Law Service, where you'll work alongside solicitors on real life cases, through to the Justice Project, where you're working to put right miscarriages of justice. Okay. Do some research on this and ask the question. This is a really good opportunity to get involved with real legal work and have something brilliant to put on your CV. So, unsurprisingly, given all of the skills that I've mentioned, law graduates generally have pretty good career prospects. And this is not only within the legal profession, but also with all different types of professions. What employer wouldn't want somebody that can think critically, that can write analytically, that has practiced advocacy and negotiation, that can speak publicly and is engaged in teamwork? Okay, so all wonderful things. That being said, the legal profession, if it's something that you or someone that you're supporting wants to go into, is competitive. So when you're considering universities, it's important to ask these questions. And my advice is to get started from as soon as you become a student, or even earlier. So if you're supporting somebody that's really keen to go into the legal profession, I've popped some things on the screen for you to search. They are great opportunities for people that are on level 3 courses. Thank you so much for listening to me. I've popped some more details on the screen in case you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Hi, my name is Holly Hadman and I'm one of the diagnostic radiography lecturers at the University of Suffolk. I'm here today to give you a quick introduction to my career as a radiographer and the course that we offer at Suffolk. For me, diagnostic radiography is an exciting marriage of cutting-edge technology, science and patient-centred care. Diagnostic radiographers are the healthcare professionals who use a variety of different imaging modalities to produce pictorial evidence of the presence or indeed absence of disease, injury or malfunction. So whilst most people first meet a radiographer in accident and emergency following an injury, perhaps to their wrist or ankle playing sport as a child, radiographers actually use an array of different techniques. So this includes computed tomography, CT scanning, MRI, ultrasound and breast imaging, as well as providing X-ray guidance to surgeons in theatre. At Suffolk, we offer a 3-year degree course in which 60% of a student's time is spent out in practice placement at one of 11 hospitals. These hospitals extend across Suffolk, Essex, Norfolk and Cambridgeshire and offer students a wide variety of experience. Most importantly, it offers students the opportunity to put the theory they've learnt in university into practice in the real-life work setting. We have a practice educator model in place at the University of Suffolk, and this means we have qualified radiographers employed in the hospitals to teach and assess students. This enables us to provide each student with really strong support whilst they're out in placement. Finances are always an area of interest to parents, understandably. There is financial support for radiography students in the form of the NHS Learning Support Fund. Here, eligible students receive a £5,000 training grant each year, which does not need to be repaid. Certain placement expenses are also able to be reclaimed. For example, students who travel further to hospital than they would normally to the university can reclaim their travel. Similarly, if a student chooses to live at the university and pay accommodation costs there, and then chooses to live in accommodation at the hospital, they're able to reclaim the cost of hospital accommodation. Employability prospects are excellent. The UK is short of diagnostic radiographers due to the introduction of new and evolving technology, and also the increasing use of imaging in many different patient pathways. A newly qualified radiographer working in the NHS in 2020 to 2021 can expect to be paid £24,907 a year, up to £30,615 a year. But of course, that's just on the basic newly qualified grade. Senior and specialist radiographers can earn between £31,000 and £44,500 a year, and consultant radiographers and managers can exceed £45,500 a year. There are also many opportunities for postgraduate study and for specialisation. So, for example, in ultrasound. There are opportunities to progress within the NHS and private healthcare, within education, research, industry, the military, or even within veterinary science. If you or your child would like to find out more, please do get in touch. You can contact me by email or via the outreach team, who will be happy to put us in touch. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kate and I'm one of the neaco Higher Education Champions. Today, I'd like to talk to you about another option for your young person to consider when they're looking at their next steps, and that's the idea of studying at a further education college. So what do I mean when I talk about a further education college? Well, when exploring options for continuing studies after GCSEs, it's possible that your young person considered applying to their local college. A further education college provides a range of courses for students which are often, although not exclusively, vocationally focused. Unlike a school environment, colleges encourage students to be more independent in their studies, and options to study part-time or in the evening recognise that students might be juggling additional work or family commitments. Now, it's important to note that it might not be the right environment for everyone, but in the next few slides, I'm hopefully going to help you to understand a little bit more about higher education studies at a further education college. When your young person starts to think about their next steps, they might choose their course based on a passion for the subject or career aspirations, and choosing to study at college as opposed to university is no different. Looking at East Anglia from a neaco perspective, we're fortunate to have a large number of further education colleges for your young person to consider. One reason they might consider studying at college is for the specialist courses and employer links which will help your young person better prepare for their future. For example, City College Norwich offers a unique aviation engineering degree pathway in conjunction with KLM. Why not have a look at each institution website to find out more about the range of pathways available? You might even find yourself surprised at the number of courses available. To dive further into higher education study at a college, let's just take a look at the bigger picture. Currently, your young person will most likely be studying a level 3 qualification. Now, this might be a standalone qualification, such as A-levels, newly introduced T-levels, or a BTEC, or they might be enrolled on an apprenticeship. Studying a degree at university is typically 3 years and provides your young person with a level 6 qualification. An exception to this might be where your young person spends a year in industry, and so the course duration would be 4 years. In addition to these more traditional degrees, shown as the academic pathway on screen, colleges offer courses on the vocational pathway. This might be in the form of a 3-year degree, but could also be a 2-year higher national diploma or a foundation degree, which would give your young person a level 5 qualification. Examples of this include a foundation degree in civil engineering at Suffolk New College, or a foundation degree in digital marketing and communications at University Centre Peterborough, which is part of Peterborough Regional College. As with universities, further education colleges also offer a number of degree and higher apprenticeships for your young person to consider. It's worth noting that courses with a vocational focus, including apprenticeships, are directly related to industries or job roles and may offer a better progression route for your young person. So what do our students say about their experience of studying higher education in a college environment? Well, for many students, college offers the chance to continue studying while also staying local. It's worth noting, however, that unlike university, many colleges don't actually offer student accommodation. So if this is a key part of the student experience your young person wants, then college might not be the best route for them. The option to break up the degree programme into a 2-year course, followed by a 1-year top-up at a later date, might be more preferable for some students, especially where they want to gain more workplace experience. Additionally, colleges often have a more flexible timetable, especially on those vocational pathways, recognising that students might be working at the same time as completing their studies. From a student finance perspective, a degree programme at university will have tuition fees of at least £9,000 per year. Tuition fees are historically lower for college studies, and therefore your young person will have less to repay after graduation. Finally, the biggest standout for our student body is the learning environment. Colleges typically have a smaller student population per course, which means group sizes are smaller and students feel they receive more personalised support from their tutors. All higher education courses at college will be accredited by a partner university. For example, courses at Peterborough Regional College are accredited by Anglia Ruskin University. This enhances the student experience for your young person, as they may be able to access additional facilities and support, including university libraries. Now, hopefully this presentation has answered questions you might have about studying at a further education college. Although it may not be the right route for every student, we wanted to show that it's a viable higher education pathway for your young person to consider alongside studying at university.
Today we're joined by Sue. Thank you so much for joining us. How did you approach post-18 options with your daughter?
When Ellen was in sixth form, they did a presentation about university. I can remember going to that talk, and then it got the conversation started between me and my daughter about what she wanted to do, really thinking about it. And we went to the talk, and she just said to me, "Oh, I don't really want to go to university." I think she preferred to go down the working route, but with training, because she didn't really know what she wanted to do.
You know, when you were making those decisions, how much did your daughter know? How much did you know about apprenticeships?
We looked into university, and we looked into other options available, the apprenticeships, and we found out that you could do all sorts of levels of apprenticeships, including degree ones. So you could still get a degree and work and get the work experience. So we did talk about all those things, but it was easier because my daughter didn't want to go to university. Sixth form college seemed to tell you all about universities, but there didn't seem to be as much information about apprenticeship.
You know, it seems like you had to do a lot more independent research. How did you find that? How did your daughter decide what sector she wanted to go into?
Well, it's funny. I don't think she really knew. She just was looking for a job. There were lots, and because she didn't know what she wanted to do, she decided to look into business administration. There was quite a few of those, but in very varied roles, you know, very different companies. So she actually signed up to a training provider, and they helped her a lot.
Okay, great. So that was kind of her main point of information at the time.
Yes.
What sector did she end up getting into?
Well, she got offered 2 jobs actually, and this is where the training provider was very good at protecting her, and she had no experience in things that were being offered, and she got offered one role that she had to do too many hours, and they weren't going to provide enough hours for her to study. So the training provider sort of said to her, "Yes, you've been offered this job, but they're not really listening to my guidance." But she eventually got offered a business administration apprenticeship in a conveyancing and law local firm, and she did the business administration. But then they offered her an opportunity to do some conveyancing training, and she ended up doing some exams in law and accounting, in reflection, to write down what you really want from training experience, and be very careful and mindful of what your aim is, rather than just taking the first thing that's offered, which I think a young person might do. Well, she did. Not every young person would do that. As a parent, I think you need to really keep the communication open, to just be careful what they're, signing, look at their contract maybe with them, just in that first instance when they're so young. So yeah, we learned as we went along, really.
You've answered my question for me. I was going to say, what would your tip be to parents who are in that situation with supporting? But I think you're absolutely right. Moving on a little bit. So how did you, as a parent, see that your daughter was finding the work-study balance of the apprenticeship?
Oh, she really loved it actually, because she was used to being at school, and you're very very busy at school. You're doing your work at school, and then after school you're expected to do homework and things. So I think to go into training on the job is sort of just a continuation of that, and she's very organised, and that's why it suited her so well.
Fantastic. It's great to have that flexibility. One final question, just to kind of sum up. If there was anything that you could say or advise to parents who were in your shoes when you first started this process, what would you say?
Knowing what I know now, I would recommend that you always have an open conversation with your child. They might feel like there's an unspoken pressure to do a certain thing. I think as parents, we're all guilty a little bit of that, whether it be you must go to university or you must indeed get an apprenticeship. Either way, we have an unspoken bias as parents, and we need to just listen to our children, but always just keep talking about it. Yeah, good luck to everybody. There is so much more information.
Hi, my name's Michelle and I'm one of the Parent Carer Ambassadors, and I want to talk to you today about some simple strategies you can use to help your child settle into university. First of all, I would say the key is to be prepared. It's really important in a few weeks or maybe even months before your child goes to university to have a think about the sort of things that might be really useful to them or help them to feel a bit more comfortable in their new home at university. So having a family photo taken in the summer before they leave for uni might be really nice. Having an up-to-date family photo together, taking some photos of pets or things that are really important to them that might stay at home. You can think about baking a cake or cooking some favourite food that you could freeze and leave with them when you leave them at university, and also think about things that might make their room nice and a bit more personal to them. So things like a blanket or a cushion, poster or bed linen. That could be something that you make if you're that sort of person, or it could be something that you buy. Something that I did with my children when they went off to university is I made something called open when envelopes, and you can find information about this on Pinterest, lots of different ideas. And the idea is that you create a box or a basket with lots of envelopes in them, and on the envelope it says open when, and it might be open when you're short of money. It might be open when you need a treat because you're feeling low. It might be open when you're bored. It might be open when you're sad. It could be open when you're ill. It could be any of those things, really. So the next part of the process of helping your young person to settle in at university is thinking about dropping them off at uni and the day that that's going to happen. So usually with most unis, they will have told you well in advance the day or times that they need you to drop off. Your family might be one of these families that don't talk about these things, and that's absolutely fine. Obviously, you'll manage this however you need to. But I think it can be worth having sort of little conversations over a period of time about how you want to manage the sort of saying goodbye process, really. And I think some of the things that you can ask is, are they going to want to be helped to unpack, or would they rather just be left to it? So some students and young people would rather just be left with the boxes and they'll unpack it over a period of days, and others would rather that you help them make their room look a little bit more like their room at home. And that's something you can decide with them based upon their sort of personality, really. But do be prepared to be flexible on the day. You might get to the accommodation and there's already a lot of other housemates there, and your young person may be one of the last people to move in. And if that's the case, they might be quite keen to say goodbye to you as parents very quickly because you're a bit of an embarrassment to them. Alternatively, it may be they're one of the first people to move into the accommodation, and then when you leave, they're going to be totally on their own for a little while. So you might need to sort of just, play with that a little bit based upon the sort of circumstances, obviously. Expect to find it difficult to leave them the first time. It is going to be hard for you, and they might pretend it isn't hard for them, but it will be hard because it's different, and anything that's new and different is always going to be hard. But it doesn't mean to say it's bad, it just means it's a new adventure, really. And I think it's probably wise then to maybe text or message them later that day once your emotions have calmed down a bit. So perhaps if you compile a little text or a message, or you may even like a bit of snail mail and send them a little card or something, then you can say all those things that you want to say about how proud you are of them, etc., without it becoming overly emotional and really difficult for them. Something that worked for us was agreeing a time when we could talk to one another once a week. So often that would be if one of them was walking perhaps to an activity, like they might be going to a dance class, or it might be that they were walking back for a lecture at a particular time. And that would be the time when they'd then ring. And it's helpful if you have maybe an agreed time, a rough agreed time, because to make sure you're available and not distracted, so you can have a proper conversation. And it also means if you don't get much contact during the rest of the week because they're busy, you do know that you will have talked to one another, okay, and you don't need to worry that you're going to lose contact with each other. Something else we developed was having a system for them letting me know that they were okay, even if they didn't have time for a full conversation. So if I messaged them and they didn't have time for a full reply, they would just text okay, or in the case of my son, K was what I would usually get. But at least I knew they were still alive and I didn't need to sort of overly worry about it, and then they would sort of catch up with me at a later point in time. University for most young people is an amazing experience. They grow a huge amount and they change, but they change all for the better. So enjoy it.
The people are really nice. The students there, they sort of get on with their own things, but they're also, you know, you can ask if you need something. It's a nice learning environment.
Living in Cambridge is a quite similar experience with, I would say, London, because London is quite diverse as well. I met some incredible people. Some of them graduated, they're back to their countries or working already. Here you offer like an amazing opportunity to develop yourself and meet all these incredible people.
The best thing that I've experienced is probably the placement. Every year we get to go on a 10-week ambulance placement, which I've just found like the best experience that I could have had here. We go on the road and we get exposed to absolutely everything. Nothing sort of shied away from us, and I just think that's the most valuable part of my experience here.
ARU has been better than any of my expectations. My lecturers are really supportive. They're really helpful if there's anything that I don't quite understand. They've been really quick with emails, so if I just email them saying, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, they're very good to email back and just be really supportive of why I wouldn't know what I'm doing and then help me.
So at UEA, there's over 200 clubs and societies available to choose from, all listed on our SU website, so they're dead easy to find. For me, I've joined a few different societies, some course specific, like my MedSoc, GP Soc, which is really great because it's a great mix. So they'll run events, socials, that sort of thing. But it's given me so many opportunities joining societies. I've made so many great friends, done so many things that I would have never expected to do. And I've had the opportunity to travel around the country for conferences, meet some great new people who I never would have met otherwise.
I am a member of the Music Society and the Conservation and Wildlife Society. In Music Society, we have weekly rehearsals in small bands and orchestras, and we normally have a couple of concerts each semester. The Conservation and Wildlife Society carries out frequent voluntary work in nearby nature reserves, as well as going on some days out, such as to see the local seal colony. My most important piece of advice to anyone starting university would be to join a club or society. There's a society for every interest, and if there isn't one, you can set one up. They are one of the best ways to make friends.
What's so great is that a lot of them are very sociable and friendly. Yeah, definitely check out societies at whatever university you go to.
Hi, I'm Brandon. Here's a couple of pictures taken from my own experience at the University of Suffolk. So the picture on the left is me and my friends at the annual summer ball. The picture on the right is me on a university trip to Spain with my course mates. So I studied event and tourism management, which provided us with an opportunity to go on field trips and explore other destinations. I'm from Ipswich and decided to choose a university locally. I picked the University of Suffolk because it's smaller and I knew I'd get extra support from academics due to smaller classes. It felt like a close-knit family. I'd say my top tip: look at a wide variety of different universities, as each institution may meet your needs in different ways. For me, I wanted a smaller university with extra academic support, whereas others may prefer a busy city life with a large population and an active social life. So a key difference between school and university is that uni gives you the flexibility to work alongside your studies. For example, you can become a student ambassador, which provides a fantastic work opportunity for students to choose when to work and is easy to fit in with other commitments.
Pittella House is right on campus and has a great atmosphere, and that's why it's my favourite place to stay. I love my room, and I have made it my own by adding a few pictures and posters. Living here, we got all our bills included in the rent, unless we go really over the top. And that means I don't have to worry about them. And the best thing is that here, all the rooms are en suite. Kitchens here are shared between 3 to 10 people, and there's a lot of space to cook and to relax with my friends. One of the best things living here is that I feel really safe. We have CCTV cameras, keycard entry, and 24-hour campus security. We live right on campus, and that means that it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to get to my lectures. And the city centre is only 10 minutes walk away. I think Peter Cheller House is a great place to stay. It's central to Cambridge with just a walk away to major city attractions, as well as it's a great place to socialise and meet new people of different cultures and traditions.
Hi, my name is Hannah and I live at Athena Hall, the on-campus halls of residence at the main university campus in Ipswich. Local shops and amenities are really close by, and town is just a 10-minute walk away.
The student services at Anglia Ruskin have been immensely helpful over the last 3 years of my course. Being somebody that is dyslexic, the Student Plus service, or the Study Skills Plus service I should say, has helped me with different strategies to be able to study, to be able to read, to be able to write my assignments, and to almost help me in whatever I needed. The Study Skills Plus is not just for people with learning disabilities, however, they help any and all students that need to see them. The university also has a counselling service, which I found incredibly helpful after my nan passed away during my second year. They were able to see me for a drop-in service, which was helpful. Following that, they gave me a few different sessions to be able to talk about how I felt and help with any feelings that I could possibly be feeling. These services were incredibly helpful because it made me feel that if something did go wrong, if something was a problem, I could contact them, I could provide them with what I was going through, and that they would be able to help me with that situation. On top of this, they have even kept in contact with me during the pandemic and made sure that if I needed any extra support or any extra guidance, that they would be able to help me with this.
A key thing is meeting new people, so as well as the sessions provided by student support services, we have a range of opportunities that you can meet other students here at UEA. We have over 200 student societies, including some focused specifically on mental health, such as Student Minds and Nightline. As well as this, we also run a buddy scheme, which is a great way of tackling loneliness and introducing new first-year students to university life.
Giving to others is a really important part of our well-being, and there are a number of ways in which you can do this at the UEA. Why not consider volunteering for the UEA Sports Scheme, joining the Buddy Scheme, or perhaps even volunteering for one of the charitable societies available?
We all know that taking part in physical activity is really important for your well-being, and here at UEA there are plenty of opportunities for you to take part in physical activity, ranging from our Navigate Norfolk scheme, which is brand new this semester. You can join one of our 58 sports clubs and even take part in the staff and student Ziggurat Challenge.
Learning isn't just done in the classroom. There's a number of different ways that you can pick up skills here at UEA. We offer a Do Something Different programme with a range of activities happening throughout the year, and also starting a business at university can be really rewarding, and the Student Enterprise Service put on a range of workshops that allow you to do just that.
Be mindful. This means just taking a moment just to pause during your day to reflect upon what's available around you. At the UEA we have a number of ways of doing this. You could perhaps consider using the Open Up app or engage with one of the wellbeing workshops available via the Student Support Service. Alternatively, if you're a PGR student, why not engage with the Wellbeing Courage project?
Hello everyone, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Student Life Services. Just a little bit about me. I'm a student recruitment assistant and I graduated in 2020 with a BA Honours in Event and Tourism Management. So I definitely have experience of using these services over the last 3 years. So just a bit of an overview, the Student Life Services offer finance and career support, as well as disability and learning, health and well-being. They are committed to providing free and impartial information and advice, as well as workshops such as careers fairs and employer talks. University students tend to be quite independent anyway, but student support is available when needed. And lastly, we have counselling services that are also offered. So these are independent, impartial and professional counselling services, and it's located at the Waterfront building at the university. And the location provides a quiet, relaxed and confidential atmosphere, whilst also allowing for easy accessibility. The counselling service is also offered outside of term time too. So whether a student is feeling some sort of anxiety, depression, stress, or even exam anxiety, they are there for students to access. Personal experience, again, I was at quite a low point in my life, I'd say, and I received weekly sessions for about a month, which really did support me mentally, but also helped me to thrive on my course. I've now graduated with a degree at university, and I can't imagine where I'd be without the help of Student Life Services.
Each school or college will have their own deadline for UCAS applications to be submitted to them. Your son or daughter makes their application to UCAS via their school or college, and their school or college then does a supporting statement. Schools and colleges will remind your son and daughter about the various deadlines. But as a parent, try and make sure that you know what the deadline is so that you can remind your son or daughter, because if they don't meet the deadline, the school may not submit their application and they won't be able to apply for university that year. The summer holidays are a really good opportunity for your son or daughter to get some work experience, especially if it's in a relevant field to the course that they're intending to apply for. Might not be paid work, might be voluntary work, but any experience can help to bolster their personal statement. From early September, your son or daughter can make their UCAS application, although in practice, schools will probably, and colleges would probably prefer the applications to go in early November, so that they have a chance to look through them and make sure that they're as strong as they can be. And your role as a parent really is to do the same, offer to go through the application and just make sure that you think it's as strong an application as possible, because your son or daughter will be in competition with thousands of other students at hundreds of different colleges and universities. For certain courses, there is an earlier deadline of 15th of October. If your son or daughter is thinking of applying for Oxford or Cambridge universities, or to do medicine, veterinary medicine or dentistry, they need to be aware that their applications have to be in by the 15th of October, so they need to have started work on them earlier than most other people. Schools and colleges will be very good at reminding your son or daughter about this deadline as well. Once your son or daughter's put in their application, universities and colleges will start offering places. Some universities and colleges are a lot quicker at doing this. It does depend on the institution and the particular course. If your son or daughter does receive an offer, that's great. Give them some praise, they've done really well. They may have to get certain grades in their A-levels, but this can act as an incentive for them to carry on working hard and to get the grades they need. If your son or daughter isn't successful and doesn't receive any offers, it's not the end of the world, because there are possibilities of applying for further additional courses later in the application process. As a parent, it's just about encouraging them not to give up and to explore the possibilities of applying again later on.
I think the most challenging part of the application is composing the personal statement. Obviously, it's quite a restricted amount of characters, and getting across everything that your young person wants to say in that number of characters can be quite tricky, and it does take quite a lot of re-editing and probably a lot more time than most young people think.
The most challenging thing in the university application process for both my children was them writing their personal statements, where basically they have to sell themselves to the universities they're applying to. They spent ages doing this, writing several drafts, just getting the evidence that they needed to explain why they wanted to do the course and why they wanted to apply for the universities that they'd picked, and to get the relevant experience and skills in their application form.
So when my son Sam started to apply for universities, I was quite surprised at how early that application process had to start, and it was almost 18 months before he would start where we were making the application process. What I would say is the schools gave him so much support, and the sixth forms gave him so much support. There's a lot of support online, and he seemed to be really quite keyed up on what he needed to do, although for me as a parent it was a little bit all new territory.
Hi there, I'm Dave and I'm a parent ambassador working for neaco. neaco stands for Network for East Anglian Collaborative Outreach. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but our aim is this. It's to help young people from our area with little or no experience of university to get into higher education. I've had 2 children go to university and I have 1 there at the moment, so I'd like to share my experiences of student finance from a parent's perspective. If you're new to the whole university thing, hopefully you'll find it useful. I'll be covering 4 areas, and I'll finish with some top tips. The areas are how the student loan works, how will my child pay it back, how do I help my child apply and what's the impact on me, and going to uni is actually worth it. So let's get started. The student loan is available to practically all first-time students living in the UK. It's made up of 2 parts, tuition fees and a maintenance loan. The tuition fees go straight to the university each year, and the maintenance loan goes direct to your child to cover things such as rent, food, books and entertainment, basically the costs of living. The exact amount your child will get depends on a number of things. Whether they are living at home or away at uni, whether they are studying in London, and most importantly for you, your household income. Your child will get a minimum maintenance loan, whatever you earn, but if your household income is high, the amount will be significantly reduced. So be aware that if your household income is high, you may need to help out financially. For me, this is approximately £2,000 per year per child at university. So repaying the loan. Being a Star Trek fan, I had to get at least one quote in. So it's a loan, Jim, but not as we know it. Repayments only start once your child has finished university. And the repayments are based on what your child earns after graduation, not how much they owe. And it's written off after 30 years anyway. So here's some rough figures for 2020. They currently pay back 9% of anything they earn over £26,500. So if they earn £30,000 a year, they'll pay back just under £26 a month. And graduates typically earn £10,000 a year more than non-graduates anyhow. So think of it more like a graduate tax than a loan, so don't worry about the finance. So how can you as a parent help? Your child will fill in their own application for student finance, but you'll need to set up an account on the government website and do your bit too. You'll fill in your child's details and you'll be asked to fill in your household income. This will be your annual income from the previous tax year, so make sure you keep all the details. You don't have to fill this in, but your child will get the minimum loan if you don't. Remember, if you're in a high-earning household, the loan probably won't cover their living expenses. You'll have to help out too, or they'll need to get a job while they're at uni. So if this affects you, my advice is to start your financial planning early. So is university worth it? 100% yes. Graduates typically earn £10,000 per year more than undergraduates. Their career is likely to be highly skilled and more rewarding. They'll gain valuable life skills at university too and grow into strong, independent adults, and they'll make some brilliant lifelong friends. So finally, my top tips. Number 1, don't worry about the student loan. It's more like a student tax than a loan and is affordable for absolutely everyone. But depending on your earnings, you may need to contribute. The earlier you plan for this, the better. So here's my challenge for you. After this video, go online and look at the latest figures for how much your child will get based on your household earnings. Then Google how much annual student living costs are in the UK. This will give you a view of how much you will need to save per child per year. I've added a couple of links in the supporting slides to help. Number 2, help your child to become money smart. Do a budget with them to help them manage their money, and take them food shopping so they can start to learn to spot those bargains. Number 3, let your child know that university is absolutely worth every single penny. They'll earn more, they'll have a more rewarding, productive career, they'll gain valuable life skills, and they'll make some brilliant lifelong friends. So what are you waiting for? Go for it. And may I wish your child the very best for their university years and their brilliant future career. Thank you.
Wow, so what a lot of material and content we've covered there in the last hour and a half that you've been with us. And hopefully today's been a really useful opportunity for you to hear about what's going to happen next, whether your young person is going to university, they're thinking about college applications, or they might be looking to go down that apprenticeship route. So what we're going to be doing for the next 15 minutes or so is we're going to welcome our lovely panel back to the team, and we're going to start to run through some questions. So please do use that question and answer chat functionality that's available. We're also going to run through some of those pre-submitted questions which came in for those of you that were able to fill in that form for us beforehand. So the first one we're going to start with that I'm going to run through is, when or how would we know specific dates of the application process? And as you heard a short while ago from Pete, it is going to be slightly different for each student and for each school. And one thing I'd say is, obviously the pandemic and the last 18 months has changed some of these deadlines, but keep in regular contact with your school, and your young person should be getting this information through as well. But to give you a rough idea, we've scheduled this event now to kind of give you guys a bit of a head start on what's going to be happening. The summer term tends to be when your young person will be at school. They'll be talking about the UCAS application. So the school will start to get them ready. They'll register them on UCAS and they'll start doing the admin side of it. You'll also find that universities and colleges will start to be running open days. Now, obviously, we'd all ideally like these to be physical, but it might be that you have to attend some virtual open days this year. Things are going to be a little bit different. But the likelihood is that by the time your young person finishes for the summer term, their school or college will want them to have a first draft of that personal statement ready. So that over the summer, they can be working on it. They can be thinking about making those choices about which university or college is right for them. They can be thinking about which courses they want to apply for, because your young person can choose up to 5 courses on that UCAS application. Now, obviously, if they're applying for an apprenticeship, there's an unlimited number of apprenticeships they can apply for, but they still need to think about what courses they're looking for, what sector they want to be specialising in. And it's really important that the young person uses those summer holidays to make some progress on the decisions they're making, but also thinking about that personal statement. Because when they come back in the autumn, whether they're going on apprenticeship, whether they're going to college or university, things will ramp up a bit with a focus on finishing coursework and getting those assignments in. So if they've got that head start on their personal statement already, that's going to get them ahead of the game. And as you've heard in the presentation already, if your young person is thinking about Oxbridge, so that's any of the main Oxford colleges, or they're looking at Cambridge, they want to study medicine or they want to study veterinary medicine, they will have an earlier deadline. So their UCAS deadline will be the 15th of October. For the other students, they will be aiming for the 15th of January. Now, it's really important to highlight here that that is the UCAS deadline, but at that point, all of the UCAS application needs to be done, but also the school or college that your young person is currently studying at, they need to have been able to do their references. So have a chat with your young person and make sure they know what that internal deadline is within the school or college for them to be aware of. Once those applications have gone in, the main bit for your young person is over and done with. They now wait to see which university or colleges want to offer them a place. And generally, if their application goes in by the 15th of January deadline, they should have all of their responses back by the end of March. Now, it might be that if that application goes in before Christmas, they might get some lovely early Christmas presents in the form of some UCAS offers, okay? In terms of student finance, the window for that tends to kick in back end of February, middle of March. There isn't anything that you can be doing on the actual application before that date. As we've just heard in that video, there's loads of great tips and things that you can be doing with your young person to help them be prepared from a budgeting point of view, but the application itself tends to be kind of around the spring of their final year, either at school or at college. Over the course of the spring and the summer, your young person will need to whittle those 5 choices down to just 2, their firm and their insurance choice. And alongside that, they'll then be thinking about their accommodation options, and it all then starts to ramp up towards results day. One of the biggest things I'd say, though, is keep in regular contact with your school or with the college that your young person is currently at. They will be the ones that will be reminding them, helping them, sharing that information. And you might even find that, a bit like we've run this event for you today, your school and college might also be doing similar events to help you guys make sure that you know which bits you can be doing and where you can kind of poke and prod and help your young person kind of keep on track as well. And also, after the event, some of the resources that we're sharing with you afterwards hopefully might help you keep on track and help your young person with the next steps and planning and scheduling things as well. Hopefully that helps. One of the next questions we've had come in is, how does the young person make a university application and actually apply for student finance? So I've touched on some of those little bits and pieces, but I'm going to hand over to Chloe, one of our lovely student ambassadors, to talk us through her experience and kind of the process she went through when she was applying to Anglia Ruskin.
Thank you, Kate. So, I mean, it was a long time ago, but yeah, I can remember it pretty much like it was yesterday, because I was not set on university. That was not something that was for me. I was just like, go into the real world, just go for it. And then I had a bit of a career change and thought, oh yeah, teaching sounds good. And you've got to go to university to do secondary. So it was kind of a quick turnaround for me. And my sixth form student support were absolutely brilliant. I mean, I think I sat in their office for a couple of hours a week just trying to get my personal statement down to a T, making sure that all my teachers were helping, because obviously you need to include volunteering, your specific courses that you want to apply for. Mine was very film and media based, as that's what my course is. But I also did a lot of volunteering in the teaching as well, just kind of putting it out there that that was what my career prospect was. I mean, you don't need to know what you want to do, because I mean, my friends don't. They haven't got a clue what they want to do when we leave, and we're third years. So, I mean, yeah, in terms of my experience, it was different to some others, but I know a lot of students that went through it where it was kind of a very, very quick turnaround of getting your personal statement done. It does put a bit more pressure on you, but like Kate said, once it's in, it's kind of a waiting game, and you get a unconditional or conditional. There's two different types, and I mean, I'm so grateful Anglia Ruskin gave me an unconditional offer. But yeah, it was, the personal statement is the hardest part. And I mean, I do talks from like, yeah, personal statement, you need to write this, this, and this. But writing it for myself for the second time, I'm really struggling, like, to make sure that I sell myself, and that is the key part. Don't think you're being too big-headed, because it usually is a good thing. You need to sell yourself, because there is a lot of people applying for that course. So you need to make sure that you are making yourself stand out. So if you want to go into medicine or that sort of area, maybe volunteer as like somebody that stands outside the jab places and posts people everywhere. Like, that will give you a good point to the people that are looking at your CV or your personal statement or your UCAS application, because it's like, oh, okay, they've gone out and they've done what they wanted to do. They're already putting themselves in the industry where they want to be. And I mean, I've done that. I've done NCS. I've been to America and done camp, and those sort of things really do put you in a better space. So I would definitely look around volunteering and things like that, because that helps with your personal statement and your application, makes you stand out.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with Chloe. So, having looked at the student perspective, one of our other questions, and kind of links brilliantly in with the way we've run today, is what is there as parents to help us support our child towards higher education? So I think we're brilliantly placed. We're very lucky to have one of University of Suffolk's amazing parent ambassadors with us. So Nikki, I wondered if you could kind of offer some thoughts on your viewpoint on it for us, please.
Yes, certainly, Kate. Thank you. So the biggest tip I'd probably give is to make sure that anything that is offered from the school, from sixth forms or college, you take it. You know, never think if you've, oh, I've been to that, I won't learn anything. You will. Go twice, go 3 times, go as many times as you need to go to get all the information that you need. Be honest with your child as well. So if you've got a question that you want to ask but think it's a silly one, it probably isn't. So just ask it and get it out there, or they might not have even thought about it. So the things your child will think about, or your young adult will think about, is totally different to what you're thinking about that university application and what they're looking for. You know, they might be looking at how much is a pint of beer, or what's the party like, or what's the area like. Well, you'll be thinking more practically about different questions. So be honest, ask the questions, take all of the support that you possibly can from the schools and the colleges. I believe some of the colleges and universities will have not only their perspectives, but they'll also have information that's double info with the parent information as well as the student information. So take that information as well, and give yourself time. I think we've already mentioned sort of a time scale, but give yourself time to think and have those conversations with your child and believe in them if they have any doubts, because it's not it's not just about their ability to be able to do the course, it's their ability sometimes to be able to live away from home and be independent. So have those conversations, be honest and believe in them is what I would say.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, one of the things we couldn't avoid talking about today is kind of the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic on the young people around us, but also the situations you guys as parents and carers might find yourselves in. And one of the questions we had come in was a question around what universities themselves are doing for students who have been impacted by the pandemic. It might be that they're one of the young people who hasn't been able to take an exam. It might be that actually there's been an impact on their health and well-being. And so, Melanie, I'm going to hand over to you. You're very kindly going to talk us through some of the things that we know about that universities and colleges have been doing to try and support those students as they transition and once they're at university as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I think the video that was on just a little while ago really highlighted actually what there is available to young people as they're going into university. And one of the key things it highlighted was there's university-led support, but really to take advantage of that student-led support as well. So in terms of university-led support, there's, you know, across every university, there's well-being support out there and student support. So that could be anything from supporting your mental health to supporting people who might have disabilities, and support with student life as well, that transition actually from like moving away from home, making friends, being in a new environment. One of the things that quite a lot of universities offer is learning enhancement support as well. So if you are feeling a little bit like you're out of your depth with the study, there's access to mentoring, there's online resources, study skills sessions as well. There's a lot of qualified people at university to help with your mental health and with your study as well. So definitely accessing that support is really key. In terms of student-led support, societies are one of the best places you can go to make friends and just to be able to talk with other people about how you're feeling. So for example, at UEA, there's a great society called Educate, and it's run by students, and the society really opens up those conversations about well-being and also addresses stigma about mental health and encourages those conversations. So that's really key. And finally, one of the things that the video also touched on was apps as well. And I think, you know, we are in a digital world and there are so many amazing things that we can get online as well. So downloading apps that are available to university students, and that can help you access support, and it can also help you just manage your own emotions or track your own emotions and how you're feeling at the time. And always go out, take walks, go into green spaces and meet people. And I think that's really key what universities are focusing on at the moment.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with Melanie. And that just kind of before we finish our Q&A and just kind of leave some final thoughts with you, I'm just going to hand back both to Chloe, our student ambassador, and Nikki, our parent ambassador, to leave us with some of their reflections or recommendations from kind of looking back on their experience of applying to higher education, choosing their courses, and then their journey while they've been there, and just kind of things that they would leave you with you guys as a takeaway. So Chloe, I'm going to hand over to you first if I can, please.
Yeah. So my first thing is probably go onto the UCAS website and just type in the course that they are maybe thinking about. Like, you can do it as well as the young person, because you might get a different perspective of what the young person does. You might see something that they don't, because I mean, they're so excited about university, they'll just scroll through and go, oh, maybe Nottingham, or oh, this one sounds good. Just have a look. And the modules are so important, because there may be something that they're like, oh, this course looks great, I've got I just like the area, I like this, but there might be something on there that they don't like. There might be a whole term, like a whole semester of things that they don't like. So that is really important. Go onto the UCAS website and just look through all the courses that are available, because I didn't actually realise how many were available for me. Another thing since I've been at university is to kind of get involved with everything. I mean, I'm a commuter student, so I have to push myself to get involved with things, and that's helped me become more confident and things like that. I would have never done anything like this before university. But yeah, you've got to really push yourself. Like, I'm a student ambassador. There's societies that's already been spoken about. You've got Freshers Week, or Freshers Fortnight, as some people now call it, because it goes on for so long. The Students' Union. I mean, you can represent your course. There's so much out there that you can do, but it's just going and pushing. And I mean, as parents, that you might like things out there you don't really know exist. So it's kind of helping them look through that sort of stuff. I mean, my parents kind of have helped me in terms of have a look at universities and go out there and see what there is. And one more thing is open days. They are so important. I couldn't stress that enough. I went to 3, and then Anglia Ruskin, it was just an applicant day because it was just one of those options that you just put as your 5th one. And if I had gone to an applicant day, I think that would have been my first choice. I would have just put that, but it was just a one that you just threw out. But now with being online and things being virtual, you can attend 2 or 3 open days at once, because there might be different events going on at different times. So you can see different universities and compare them at the same time, which I think is going to be really useful. And I think some universities will continue to do it that way because people don't have to travel here and there. I mean, I travelled to Plymouth and I live near Peterborough. So, and that was a real big commute. Like, we had to spend the weekend down there. And now it's just you sit in your living room and you just have a look on there. But yeah, open days are super important, and yeah, I think that's mine. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, actually, that leads on really well to a question that we did have submitted from one of our attendees, which talks about a young person who's interested in studying medicine and having already been really proactive and looking at what the universities are doing, saying that actually not so much information out there about whether they're going to be physical, whether they're going to be virtual, and just the question talks about, do we know if they're going to be in person? Do we know if they're going to all be virtual? What are universities going to lead back to, and kind of when that information might be available? So Melanie, I'm going to hand over to you to kind of talk us through some of the thoughts that we've put together on that.
Yeah, I think Chloe makes a really important point. You know, ideally you'd love to visit the campus for an open day, but like Chloe said, actually being able to have access to different campuses, you know, without having to travel saves a lot of time and money and energy. But it also means universities have had to really up their game to showcase what's available on campus. And so these digital tours that they offer and these digital open days are really valuable to kind of get that sense of what that university is like. And they're trying to sell themselves. So, you know, they're offering the best bits out there and the most exciting bits. So it's really useful actually to attend as many of those virtual open days as possible. One thing that is opening up though is campus tours. So do check on university websites if they're offering campus tours. I think the best thing actually is being able to attend a virtual open day, and then if you really do get, you and your young person get that sense of like, oh, you know, we'd like to kind of make this next step, then see if you can book onto a campus tour. These will be smaller. They might not be as big a buzz as they would be during an open day, but it means you have the opportunity with your young person to really get a sense of the feel of the campus and to take your time kind of wandering around. You'll usually be led by like a student ambassador or someone who knows the campus inside out. And that just then gives you that opportunity to back up, you know, your choices really and what you want to do next. So yeah, keep an eye on the university websites. UEA, for example, are offering campus tours between I think April and June, so they're coming up really soon, and definitely book onto those and get the chance to really get a feel for the campus and walk around.
Brilliant, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Melanie. And just one of the bits looking at the question kind of talks about, is there anywhere to find a listing of open days? I know opendays.com is somewhere that a lot of the institutions subscribe to and will send details. The other thing is social media. A lot of universities use TikTok, they use Instagram, Facebook, so Twitter, all of those different options. So either yourself or your young person, just kind of follow them on the various social media platforms and they will be promoting. And as soon as they're able to do something in person, they'll be really keen to welcome you guys back. So really do have a look. So finally, before we leave some closing thoughts with you and hand back over to Naomi, just want to leave our last question across to Nikki, our lovely parent ambassador, just to leave kind of you some thoughts for our attendees about kind of your experience of supporting someone through that higher education journey, and any final tips you'd leave for our attendees, please, Nikki?
Yes, certainly, Kate. So I probably would say be open-minded, definitely. You know, always encourage them to explore everything. Don't rule anything out and keep everything on the table. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Ask them all the time, every day, whenever you need to. And probably the biggest one would be get excited for them. They're going to be nervous, but they're going to be excited, and they need you to be excited with them. They don't need you to be I mean, I know I was nervous, we're all nervous for them, and are they going to be all right, are they going to be all right, but try not to let that show. Get excited and get involved for them.
And one of the questions we had come through was about what to do to help build your confidence, or where do you start? That was the way it was worded. And one of the things that I wanted to say is we've already taken those steps. Coming to an event like this evening hopefully has given you a little bit more confidence. It's given you a little bit more information and potentially some useful pointers on where to look next. And the other thing I'd say is don't worry if you don't know the answer. I'm sure you'll hear both from Michelle and from Chloe across the course of the evening that you're not expected to know the answer straight out. That's why you've got so many great resources. So I think the biggest tip I'd say is don't be afraid to ask questions, whether it's of the schools or colleges that your young person attends, whether it's of friends who might have siblings or might have, sons or daughters who've already been to university, or even ask questions of your young person. What do they want from you? Is it that actually they need your help working out where you can get to an open day, how far is too far in terms of where you're prepared to travel to support them, or even just helping them to make that decision. And the other thing I'd say is, as well as it being a new experience for you, it's also going to be a new experience for your young person. Yes, they might have seen an older brother or sister go through this, but they might not have done. They might be the first person in your family that's contemplating going to university. So I think one of the things I'd also say is try and enjoy that experience with them and actually make some new memories. Some of my greatest memories from kind of making a decision about where I wanted to go for university was experiences I shared with my mum, who came to open days with me, and we still reflect back on kind of decisions we made, or when we got lost getting to an open day, or even when we nearly got snowed in and couldn't get home from an open day, and that was all part of the journey for me. So talking about that student experience, I'm now going to throw over to Chloe, our lovely Take Your Place student ambassador, and ask her to talk us through kind of her experience and her perspective on the cost of university from a student perspective, because that was one of the questions we had put to us beforehand.
Brilliant, thanks. So in terms of costs, my costs were slightly different because I am a commuter student. So firstly, my student loan is a lot smaller in terms of the maintenance. I get about, I think it's just over £3,000 for the school year. And that has been able to cover my petrol, my bus fares, because I would drive to the park and ride and get on from there. Park and ride tickets for the week were about £21, and if I was in 4 days a week, it was the cheaper option. And I also have a part-time job while I'm at uni, so as though that maintenance loan is good, it sometimes, if I was travelling more to uni or going to Cambridge directly, it didn't always cover it for that term. So a student job was brilliant for me, and that's my ambassador job that I do now. That means working open days, things like this, doing student life talks, going into schools when we're allowed to, and just getting a feel of like helping other students, like what you will be doing as parents, like helping your child, helping them get a good decision on what they want to go. I would never ever push somebody to go to Anglia Ruskin, but I would always give them the best choice at what they had, even if that was pushing them to another university, saying, oh, that one over there has got a good course for that. And student ambassador jobs are paid really well. I think they range between £9.50 and £10.10, somewhere along there, just for an hour's job. And okay, you're not going to get as many hours as what you might get at Tesco's or any other normal job on the high street, but it's brilliant. It's a good job to have, and it builds your confidence, like Kate was saying, it builds your confidence more as well, and you become, I don't know, I've become a different person through it. But my costs are very, very different to somebody that would have lived on campus and would be paying for accommodation, bills, food and things. but I know a lot of them also have student jobs. Quite a lot are student ambassadors, but some work in supermarkets, clothes shops, and things like that.
Brilliant, that's great. Thank you, Chloe. And one of the questions linking into some of the things we had asked during the evening was talking about, we can't avoid the situation at the moment. We've run this event virtually because unfortunately we can't bring you to any one of our campuses at the moment. So one of the questions we got asked was about how students can actually get a true sense of the institution from a virtual open day, because obviously there's only going to be a snapshot of that open day shown and that institution shown. And one of the questions we had asked was about, do we know and what do we think about whether or not universities might be open this year for physical visits to help those young people make their decisions? So I'm going to pass that over to Melanie to answer for us, please.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. At the moment, we know that there are no physical open days at the moment due to COVID restrictions. Obviously, when universities are able to get those up and running again, they will. But what they've had to do, actually, universities at the moment, they've really had to ramp up their just how they sell themselves online, really, through digital and virtual open days. So it's definitely worth taking a look at as many universities as possible through virtual open days. The great thing about that is you can attend as many as you can, squeeze into a day or a weekend or a week. They are quite often open at all hours, so you can go in there at your own time. And they've really managed to make these interactive platforms, just being able to experience everything that you would be able to during an actual open day. This gives you the opportunity to explore as many universities as you like, and then you can start kind of sorting through them, really, and thinking about your shortlist and where you might actually like to go. And many opportunities for campus tours as well at the moment. So UEA, for example, are running campus tours between April and June. And during that time, you can have a self-guided tour where you can explore on your own or with your family, or you can have a student-led tour, which gives you the kind of insights into campus life. So there's a really great opportunity there to be able to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what you want from your university, explore as many as you like, and quite often get the opportunity to pop onto campus and just see it in the flesh, really. And hopefully in the future, when we can, universities will be back up and running and we'll be able to do proper physical open days.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Melanie. So having talked about it from that perspective, we're now going to draw on the fact that we've got some brilliant ambassadors with us this evening. And first of all, I'm going to throw it over to Chloe and ask her to talk to us about open days from her experience. And we're really lucky that Chloe can talk to us both about her experience from a student when she was making decisions about her next steps, but also from your role as an ambassador. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about, at the moment, as an ambassador, how you help out with some of those virtual open days as well.
Yeah, so in terms of my own experience, like what Kate said earlier, that she went with her mum and stuff, I have been with my dad down to Plymouth and did my bar spa with my mum. So I kind of tried to go with each parent. So when we came home, it was kind of like we all had a different perspective on what we thought uni was going to be like. But I would always go to a welcome talk, because they're super important, because you get that instant feel of what the university is like. And sometimes the vice chancellor will talk and give a bit of speech and then hand it over to a student or hand it over to another member of staff. And you get freebies. There was always like a freebie jumper thrown at you. I would also make sure I went to my course talk. It didn't matter whether it was a run from the welcome talk or it was just have a look around the uni myself. But always go to your course talk. You meet people that might be on your course when you join. You'll meet lecturers, and when you see them in September or on applicant day, you then have somebody that you will remember and will be almost like a safety net for you, because when you walk in on your own, it's very different to when you walk in with your parent. If you walk in with your parent, it's kind of like, oh, I'll stick with them, that's fine. But then when you go with on your own, you're kind of like, oh, okay, somebody with that similar age is kind of with you, which again is kind of nice. But as working on one, I never did a campus tour on my own with, like, as a student. and now I see them as like the most important thing on an open day, because if you don't walk around, you don't actually know anything until you start. And a student telling you what there is to do and what there is to about is actually super important. And a lot of the time it is the parents that ask the questions, which is great, because then it sparks a question in the student. So in terms of a parent point of view, always ask the first question, which I know can sometimes be quite daunting, but it's definitely ask the first question, because then it sparks everybody else in. And also, like, we at Anglia Ruskin use the science building and just put loads of stalls up of like student help, money advice, accommodation, students union. Like, we make sure that the room is full, so that there is port of calls to make the parents feel better, so they kind of know what's going on, as well as the students. And that's a really important thing as well. But now we're online, like what Melanie was saying, you can visit as many as you need to in one day. I mean, I've been doing campus tours online Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then we do open days as well, and we've got one on Saturday, and the course talk. It will be like a normal talk, but you're just sat in your own home, and you can visit as many as you like in one day, which is great.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Chloe. And what I'm now going to do is, Michelle, can I pass over to you to kind of complement that and talk to us about open days from your experience as a parent ambassador and as a parent even? Oh, Michelle, I'm not sure we can hear you at the moment. I'm not sure whether you're still muted at your end, unfortunately. Oh, not quite. I think what we'll do is, if I pass over to Chloe, perhaps to do a second question, and then maybe we'll come back to you in a moment just to see if we can get you there. Oh, hang on.
Yep. Can you?
There we go. Yeah. Hello, we can hear you. Perfect. So yes, I was just saying, if I can hand over to you to talk us through open days from your experience as a parent, please.
Yeah. So what I would say is plan really. Whether you're going to an open day in person or you're doing a virtual open day, I think you need to sit down in advance and decide what sessions you're going to attend, whether that's in a virtual sense or really, because often there's just so much going on, and you know, there's lots and lots to see, but there is actually only so much you can take in. And if you've gone to several university open days, then you'll find that some of the talks are very similar, you know, so one student finance talk is pretty similar to another one. It doesn't really matter which university you're at, so you're not going to need to go to 5 student finance talks, for example, you know, because that really is not what anybody needs. But I think be realistic about what you can achieve in the day and what's really important to you. So Chloe'd already mentioned about course talks, you know, which are just critical really, because the reason why your young person's going to this going to go to this university is because they love the course, you know, and it's got everything that they're looking for. So that's, you know, going to be really critical. I think if it is an in-person day, which we do hope all will eventually come round again, think about travel distances, how long it's going to take you to get there. Are you going to need to stay overnight? All of those sorts of things. You know, we had a sorry tale of breaking down in the car the night before an open day and actually needing to stay in a travel lodge and then get a train from, you know, a station nearby, and all of those exciting sort of things. But, you know, it is just, you need to work that out, because for some families it's just not going to be practical to do some of the travelling that might be involved, or it might be too costly. So, and that needs to be planned in advance. What I would say is have a notebook as a parent, because if you go to 5 open days, you will begin to merge them all into one, and you'll forget what was said somewhere and why this place was good and that one wasn't so good. And you can then just help your young person to reflect on all of that. But I think do have some questions written down that you want to ask that you can't get answers to from the prospectus or the website, and there will be some of those questions. So in my experience, things like where do students live in 2nd and 3rd year? You know, they live on campus 1st year. Where do they live next? How much is it? How far away is it? What's the public transport like? All of those sort of things you're going to find out from a student. You're not going to find that out from, you know, the prospectus or necessarily the website. I think, you know, if your young person is looking at very specific courses, one of mine is doing social work, you know, the question was she going to need a car in order to get to placements? Some universities said yes, others said no. So again, those sorts of things might be important for you. And I think the other thing I would say is, remember, it's your young person, choosing where they're going to go to university. It isn't your choice. You may not necessarily always agree with their choice, but actually it's about what's the right fit for them. So you're there to support and encourage and reflect and say, well, what about this and what about this? But ultimately it is really about supporting them on the open day to find out what they need to know in order to sort of move on in their journey, so to speak. And I would also say, if you get a chance to do a real in-person open day, look at accommodation and what you're getting for your money, because that varies quite a bit from city to city and university to university, and everybody's got a budget that they're working to. So you do need to be clear about what you can afford and what you're going to get. And if you are doing virtual open days, hopefully you can still go and visit the city or the town that the university's in, even if you can't get into the university. And I think it's worth remembering that your young person is actually going to live in this city or town. They aren't going to live in the university. They're not going to live in the halls of residence permanently. So it's really important that they feel really comfortable in the city or town that they're going to be in. So they're my tips.
Thank you, Michelle. Some really great tips there. And one thing to say is there's so much great information coming both from Chloe and Michelle there. We will share a written version of the kind of questions and answers after the event so that you guys can sit and kind of digest them even further. But I'm going to kind of stay with our ambassadors tonight. And we've talked about lots of different things. We've talked about student finance, we've talked about open days, we've talked about student life, all of those different bits. So I'm going to ask both Chloe and Michelle to give us just their top tips, maybe things that you might not consider, but just their takeaways from the evening and kind of top tips that they'd leave you with. So Chloe, I'm going to come to you first for your top tips, if I can, please.
Yeah, so my first one is like mainly based at a parent point of view, because my parents did this with me, is have like maybe an evening or two where you sit down and go on the UCAS website and just type in what course it is that you want to do, because I didn't realise how many were out there for film and media, and you think, oh my gosh, now where am I going to go? And then you can whittle it down from there through looking at the modules, and that is a part of that top tip, to look at the modules on the UCAS website, because you are going to be there for the 3 years, and if there's a whole term where you don't like the coursework or anything, your marks will drop. That is just how it works. You don't like something, you're not going to put as much effort into it. Another one is to probably just decide pretty early on whether it's going to be a close university or a faraway university, because then you can start to look at the accommodation, or you can look at staying at home and look at the travel costs, because then that sorts your budget. And if your budget's going to be bigger for the accommodation sort of side, then you can work out where it's all going to go. And I wish I had done that early on as well. I managed to get it sorted for my second year, thank God, but not the first year. And finally, it's not about, like, if the young person wants to do it, as hard as it was for my parents, just kind of do it, because I mean, I was like, no, university's not for me, I'm not going to go. I'm not a party girl, and actually I've gone to university and it is way more than just going out and getting drunk. Like, there's societies, there's clubs and things like that, so there is a lot more to it. And I wish that when I was 16, 17, I was told all of this, because I'm the first person in my generation to go, so nobody else kind of knew what uni was about. It was kind of just a first thing. So yeah, that's my top tips.
Brilliant, thanks for sharing that, Chloe. And Michelle, if we can hand over to you again to give us some top tips from your experience as parents supporting each of your children through the process.
Yeah, so I think one of my top tips is around student finance. It's a relatively straightforward process, and I think a lot of parents worry about it. If you get onto the student finance website, there is actually sort of like a rough calculator that will give you, based upon your income, roughly what you're expected to get, or what your young person would be expected to get. And that then gives you a sort of working figure as to how much you are going to have to financially potentially support them. Because for many parents, there will be a parental contribution as such, which is expected. And I think you need to have honest conversations with your young person very early on about how much you can afford to help them. And if you can't afford to help them, that they're going to have a part-time job or use savings, or, you know, that they're going to have to find a way around it. Because actually, you know, university is affordable. I have got 3 who have either been through it or are literally sort of finishing off. None of them have got any, you know, additional student debt other than the, you know, the government loans that they were given. They haven't gone into overdrafts and things like that. It's perfectly doable, you know, for an average family, but there does need to be some planning that goes into it, and there does need to certainly be some budgeting from the young person's point of view, and you actually need to help them with that as a parent. You know, a lot of young people haven't really got any experience of paying bills or how much things cost, so a little bit of work in those months before they go off to university, I think, is really, really valuable. And I think echoing what Chloe said about knowing what your budget is really important. Some university cities and accommodation is way out of some people's price range, and other cities are much cheaper to live in. And I think, you know, what I said is correct. Everybody can afford to go to university, but it unfortunately is a case that some people can't afford to go to certain universities and certain cities just because of the costs that are involved. And I think it, you know, there's obvious places like London, for example, which we know is exceptionally expensive. There's other cities which, you know, are very cheap and people wouldn't even know about it. My daughter went to Cardiff, for example, lived on peanuts really in terms of how much it cost her to live, you know, but other places are more expensive. So I think what I would say is, back to the plan thing, it's about that preparation. Don't leave anything to chance, don't leave any conversations unsaid, and be honest with your young people about how much you can help them. If they're going to need to come home on the train because you can't go and pick them up, they need to know that before they decide to go to Edinburgh or something, you know. Have those real life conversations. If they want to go to Edinburgh, well, they will have to go, but they're going to have to find their way back, if you know what I mean, and you need to be honest about that, really. So but I think with all the planning and the conversations in place, I think it's doable, and it's, you know, I would say my 3 young people have been revolutionized by going to university, not because of the education, but because of the life experience of having to be independent adults out there in the world. And, you know, I would say, you know, it's definitely something that should be considered by all young people.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Chloe, and thank you to Michelle for being able to share those experiences with us. And I'm going to hand over to Naomi for our last question, which came in and asked the question of, when or how should we expect parents and carers and those people helping the young people to know the specific details of that kind of timeline and the application process, and kind of what happens next? They've made a really great step by booking on to attend this evening and get some information and hear from our brilliant ambassadors, but kind of what happens next for them?
Yeah, thank you, Kate. So, like you say, there's been a lot of kind of direction and guidance already today, but your schools and colleges of your young person are really going to be that key contact for letting you know dates. If your young person isn't telling you that and you're not getting that information from them, that's not getting fed down to you, then you can of course go on the UCAS website if you're particularly interested in knowing about the dates for them. If you go onto their website and literally type in key dates, they'll give you a chronological order of all the key dates that you need to know for the application process. You can start following that. Not only that, but of course there is us and our lovely Take Your Place website. We have a whole heap of resources on there surrounding student finance, surrounding the UCAS application. We've got all sorts of videos that will be coming from our presentation today that you can re-watch if you've missed a link or guidance from us while we've been on here. You can watch the video back and go to that. And also what we do have coming up from our lovely collaborative colleges is our Take Your Place virtual fair, which will be happening from the 4th of May all the way up until Friday the 7th of May. They'll have a whole range of different subject talks on there, as well as talks to do with apprenticeships and the application processes. So that would be definitely worthwhile going with your young person, as it is targeted at them, but there'll be a whole range of different talks over those days. We will, of course, send you more information at the end of our event today, so we are going to be sending out an email to you tomorrow, so please do look out for that. Included in there will be all how to access any of the information from our event. Of course, there'll be information on our Take Your Place virtual fair, And very importantly will be a feedback link for you to complete for us on our events. Your feedback is so valuable and it really does shape how we do these events for you and the content we provide for you. It's a great way for us to learn how to improve, but also gives us an indication on what we're doing right so we can keep replicating that. Thank you so much. I think that's everything from us here today. So I'll just wrap up by saying thank you so much for attending, and thank you all of you who have presented today and taken part in the Q&A. Just really fantastic stuff with you.